All right, good evening, everyone. Hello, welcome, 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 welcome. Thank you for coming to the historic Lincoln Theater. I'm Andrew Fenneman, the director here. So great having you here for our second episode of Talking Food in Maine, Intimate Conversations. How many of you were here for Melissa Kelly last week? A number of you, great. I have good news. Kerry is actually here. So for those who weren't here, poor Melissa was caught in the airport in the rain, and we started a half hour late last time. So I'm happy to say that we are starting on time tonight, which is a lovely thing. And I'm pleased to welcome you here tonight. For anything, one of the lovely things about Lincoln Theater, which I just am thrilled about as being part of this community, what's important to me is that we do free things and stuff that we can invite different people from across the community here. And this is just one of the 60 to 70 free events we offer throughout the year. And we couldn't really do that, thank you, thanks. But I must say, as you know, we really couldn't do that without our sponsors. So I would like to thank our three sponsors for this program. You can see up here, King Idar's Pub, the Maine Coast Inn in Damariscotta, and Eat Maine Magazine. Please give them a round of applause because it is always really nerve-wracking when you start something new. And this format we built off of a wonderful series which we had with Talking Art, which we continue to have. If you've never come to Talking Art, I know my friend Jane is here tonight. We have one coming up the first week in November, and I would encourage you to come to that, please, because it's a fabulous series as well. And we've built off of that model to say, well, let's talk about food. And when I thought about it, I thought, gosh, who can we get to really do this? And so I invited Cherie Scott. You may or may not know Cherie. She's from over in Boothbay. I met Cherie years ago when she was working at the Boothbay Chamber. And I thought, gosh, she is a dynamo. She's someone who could talk about food. I like that. And so I invited Cherie to see if she'd like to host this series, and she said, absolutely, can't wait. And I'm so pleased. She got up here last time, the first time out here on the stage, and you can imagine how nerve-wracking it is when you've never done something before in front of a group of people, and did just a fabulous job. And so I'm so excited that we're now having our second one in this series tonight. And I hope that you will love her just as much as I do, because I know you will, because it's impossible not to. So please welcome our host for the evening, Cherie Scott.
Sweet. You're so sweet. Good evening, everyone, and thank you so much for joining us tonight. And I have to say, I echo all the sentiments here on the stage by Andrew, to Andrew, and for Andrew, because he is such a class act. And this theater, what he's done with it, and the spirit and the creativity and the vision and the leadership that he has brought to this theater. I lived in Boothbay, and I still do, and I'm always enamored by everything that he comes up with. So I just got really, really lucky, because he's really the person who should have hosted this series. I don't know if you guys know this, but he's a great pastry chef. So, and he's cooked at the James Beard House. I haven't, but you know what? That speaks to Andrew. He's humble, he's generous, and he gave me a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to be here tonight. So, thank you for letting me host. And without further ado, I want to talk about our guest tonight. We had a very interesting meeting, Kerry and I, years ago, and we're going to talk about that tonight. We'll save all the good stuff. But I do want to tell you about last month when Melissa Kelly was running very, very late. Guess who came to my rescue? Kerry. I picked up the phone. I was in the bathroom. I found out that she was still on the tarmac at 5:30 in LaGuardia, on the tarmac, and she was supposed to be on stage at 7. And I called Kerry and I said, whatever you're wearing tonight, just bump it up a notch. Because I knew he was coming. And he said, you got it. And he was here, sat with me in the back for 45 minutes, and we talked about what we're going to talk about Melissa if she never made it. And that's the kind of guy he is. He doesn't take himself too seriously, doesn't have an ego, but makes tremendous impact. And I cannot wait to introduce you all and welcome Maine's 2019 Chef of the Year, Kerry Altiero. Come on out.
great. Great intro, thanks.
Have a seat.
The trophy.
Wow.
Nice, huh?
You are worthy. We are not.
You also can drink beer out of the bottom of it.
It's pretty cool.
And if you hold it upside down, it says, "What the hell?" Anyway.
So, how are you feeling?
Medium rare, I think. It's out there. I'm feeling great. Happy to be here. Thank you all for showing up.
You look well done.
Well done. Well done. Nice little culinary joke. I just really relish the opportunity to be here. So we'll continue with the punny jokes.
Okay,
here.
so I did hear a funny joke.
Yes.
You said, in this business, you can't cut the mustard unless you catch up.
Catch up, or
That was one of Kerry's.
I was just saying it for the halibut. So we can continue with that.
Okay, so
Okay.
here's what everybody wants to know, right?
What do you want to
How
know?
does this guy turn into this guy?
Oh yeah, hair and everything.
Turn into this guy.
Oh, the
That's
hair.
what we're here to find out today.
Well, you want to know?
Yeah,
Do you really care? I mean,
yeah,
yeah,
we
all
do
right.
care.
Okay.
Yeah, so tell us about this guy. Tell us about this wonderful wine trophy you got here.
Okay, so the trophy is Hospitality Maine, which is the Hotel and Restaurant Association combined now, and they had an award. So my peers judged us, or me, or the restaurant, or all of us, to get this particular award. Now, this isn't about a competition. It's not about how big your restaurant is, or what food, or whatever other awards you got. It's really about the spirit you bring to your business and your impact in the community and getting the respect of your peers. So in terms of the many awards, just a few, those things, this one is probably one of the most, if not the most significant, because it's really hoteliers and restaurant people throughout the state had a couple of choices, and I had a huge amount of votes to say yes, and that is humbling because it's really a tribute to Miranda, the staff, Evelyn, co-founder, and everybody that's ever eaten there, actually, because it's your fault we're still here after 27 years. It's your fault. To you and the crew.
So did you ever think you were going to be a chef when you grew up? I mean, what did you want to be when you grew up?
I wanted to be a racer, man. I wanted to go fast, fly through the air, go sideways. Absolutely.
So what got you in the kitchen? Who were your most influential food people in your life growing up?
Well, my grandmother, Connie, on Florence, known as Auntie Fluffy. If anybody's got the cookbook, you know all about the fluff.
Fluff. All right,
And
so
so
let's
there's,
take pictures of fluff.
Yep, those are some of the most influential. And also, I'm part Polish and Lithuania too. So the pierogies you see on the menu that have like balsamic vinegar, well, that's me. That's like the Polish Italian. It's like, there you are, right there. It is the melting pot right on your plate.
Now, who made those delicious meatballs?
Well, these actual ones, I don't know, because one of the crew made those. But this is part of my grandmother's legacy to us. So the meatballs, as she would say, Kerry, they're not boiled hamburgers, which I think she was referring to the Polish side of the family. When they made spaghetti and meatballs, they would just like make the meat and put it in the sauce and boil it. So these are veal and pork and breadcrumbs and sauteed onions and celery and lots of Romano cheese and eggs, and you fry them in olive oil. So we call them meat truffles when we're making them, because they are like these fabulous meat truffles. So this differentiates this one from your average, Stouffer's meatball, for example.
So can I tell you a funny story?
Oh, good God, please.
So, no surprise here, I'm Indian, right? I'm from Mumbai. So I married this sweet boy from Philly, right? He's a Jersey boy. And his name's Guy. And he always said to me, Guy always says, Cherie, why can't you make me a decent meatball? Just make me a decent meatball. He's like, I'd be so happy. And so you know what I did?
You make all this great Indian food, like,
I do,
what?
and it's great. I mean, he loves it, but he was just like, I just want a good meatball. So I went and opened up your book, and I actually made Nana Connie's meatballs.
There it
and
is.
I call them magical meat truffles because that recipe is spot on.
Isn't that a band, Magical Meat Truffles?
I don't know.
It should be. Take that for your next heavy metal band. Anybody out there? Go ahead.
But they were spot on, and that's how I knew that you were the real deal. That, yeah, he talks a lot, but he actually walks the walk, because that was a bulletproof meatball recipe. From Guy to you.
Well, I think it's one of the iconic dishes of Miranda, and it's also my touchstone. When people say, like, what's your favorite dish? I don't really have favorites, but there's some things after I've had every curry and all the weird stuff, and the day's gone bad, and I say, oh my God, I need to like touch home base. It's that right there, because we make the pasta, we make the sauce, shave the cheese, make the meatballs. That's just like it.
So I love the name of the sauce. Does anybody here know what the name of the sauce is? Any hardcore Kerry fans here?
Come on.
Come
you're out there.
on. It's the latex marinara.
Yes, we call it latex.
So why is it latex? Tell us the
Okay,
story.
so I don't know, is Evelyn out in the audience there? I don't know if, oh, Evo, there you are. Co-founder, owner of Miranda the dog. Can we just get a little hand for Evelyn? Because
right there.
we all wouldn't be here without her. And her pal Chad might be here too. At any rate, so we had bought this building on Oak Street in Rockland. It was a gambling club, the Al Benevolent Fraternal Club. It was covered in nicotine and tar and scrubbing the place down. And we were making, the first thing you always do is you put a pot of sauce on, man. I mean, I thought, okay, how are we going to start the cooking process? So we were making the sauce, and then I'm putting in the tubs. And we were trying to decide whether we were doing latex or oil-based paint in the dining room. And that's what was in my head, and I wrote on the tub latex. I went, all right, well, guess that's what it is. So if you ever go into Miranda, say, I'd like a side of latex, they'll know exactly what you're talking about, right? It's true. So
that's an awesome story.
Yeah, it's just one of those strange ones that we have other things like Elvis parsley and Frank cilantro, and there's an FWO, which stands for blanking white onions, because when you cut onions, you cry, so it's FWO. Or FRO, red onions. So we have the kitchen vernacular, if you will.
That's just insane. I don't know how your kitchen functions. So what is the method behind all this Miranda madness? I mean, 150 items on this menu.
You guys familiar with this menu out there?
150. Yeah. I brought them in just so you can sit and read it all. I mean, I can go on and on.
But then people ask me, like, oh, what's your favorite dish? I go, does it look like I can make my mind up? Like, what? Like, right. Like, who are you today? What do you listen to? You listen to, like, Duke Ellington or AC/DC? I mean, what are you doing? So you can come to Miranda and go Italian grandmother, you can go comfort food, or as somebody once said to me, or you can go to the circus, which is like the chicken Jerry and all the weird stuff.
That's awesome.
Or the wontons from Spirits, which aren't on the menu at the time.
I like the intergalactic pork.
Intergalactic pork.
That was very cool. You want to tell us a story on that?
So I think this one was Neil Anderson, who was also in the book as Neil Anderson's Bolognese of August, which is a whole nother story. And somebody said, I think we made the first one with the sweet potatoes and the red curry paste and the pork chop and all that. And we said, oh, we're going to call this interplanetary. And he goes, no, man. And that's why it became intergalactic. I said, this is out of this world. He goes, it's intergalactic. And poof, stranger things have happened.
But that's why I love your menu, because your menu is essentially a foil for your customers who come in. You feed off of them. And they are the heart and soul of Miranda.
Well, yeah, without them,
I mean?
Evelyn and I would have been at home saying, this is nice. I wonder if anybody would buy this. I mean, it would be, thank you all.
Yeah, but you don't just listen to them, you cater to them. And that's awesome. And they're loyal to you after all these years.
That's true. But we do often say the customer isn't always right. You have to just make them think they are. That's a secret. Don't tell anybody.
And it's in the
food
latex
service.
marinara.
Yeah, so you have all these silly things.
Okay, so tell us about this next lady, who's a very important part of your life. And
Connie.
everything show everyone this beautiful.
Okay, so some of my first memories are, and I think I even say it in here. Does it say there? Whatever it says up there. I don't remember. I wrote it in 2014. Are part of the Italian-American dinners. Like you would see at Christmas time on the Feast of the Seven Fishes, you see the tentacles of the octopus coming out of the pot and going, ugh, what's an eggplant? Ugh. And you would just get all these things, but making the macaroni, as she would call it. What's this pasta? It's just macaroni. And I remember reaching up to the table and feeling the flour on the board, and then I would take the little ends, and she'd say, Kerry, don't eat the macaroni, it's not cooked. And then at the end of it, she would just take all the odd bits and just cook them up in a little olive oil or butter, and that was like the treat. And that machine is this one, right here. This is hers. So whenever I do demos or do stuff like this, I bring her machine. This is like a little talisman. This is the same machine that was on that table when I was a little kid. So where do memories lie? They lie in food, they lie in friends, but they all center around the people that help you make those memories. And while she's not here, this is what I got. Well, the macaroni and the meatballs is what we have. And how lucky we are to have this kind of stuff.
Absolutely, yeah.
Connie.
Connie, what a great lady.
You know, when I was growing vegetables and stuff in the 80s, and she would go, Kerry, this is nothing new. It's just the way it used to be. You know, so this whole farm-to-table thing as an Italian-American, I mean, here in Maine, the whole farm-to-table thing never went away. Everybody out there's got a garden, or most of you, or know somebody does, or has a garden, or is canned, or goes to Beth's Market, or the Honor Shack on the side of the road with the box you put your dollar in and take 2 ears of corn. Isn't that just great?
Yeah.
So that's the stuff that is never left here.
So I read somewhere that you were vegetarian at one point?
Yeah.
How did that come about? I mean, you go from these meatballs, these
Oh, I still
meat
ate chili
truffles.
dogs. It's okay. No, I still ate chili dogs occasionally.
What, you wake up one day and just say, I'm going to channel my inner hippie, I'm going to go all vegetarian and rebel and do my own thing?
Yeah, something like that. It was vegetarian, but then all my friends were making like steamed green beans and rice. I'm like, man, this is not food. This is just not food. We need to make food here. So that got me into all the Asian cuisines and the Mexican and Indian, all those things. Because if you're trying to eat vegetarian, particularly if you're not at home all the time, whether it was band stuff or motorcycle racing, you needed to do this kind of stuff. So then I started finding out about all of this odd different cuisines, and then because I am actually unencumbered by actual knowledge or experience other than my own, that's click and clack the car, guys, thank you, Tom and Ray, that I would just go out and search things, and there is no hierarchy of food. Maybe the meatballs are a little higher above everything else, and chicken Jerry's like right there, but typically I don't hold things in a hierarchical kind of way. It's, you know, it was Chinese food was being made while my Italian ancestors were scraping stuff off the bottom of rocks for lunch. I mean, who wins in this? Nobody wins. If you accept everything, then you get a whole lot of variety. It's great.
So you were just kind of trying out all these different dishes, because when I look at this cookbook, I think to myself, wow, he was so far ahead of everyone when he wrote
Unencumbered.
this. Unencumbered. Because, I mean, you've got the vegan in here, you've got the vegetarian, you've got the gluten-free. I mean, and you were doing this stuff way before anybody else was on the whole vegan trend, and, you know, which has become huge now. But,
yeah,
I mean,
you
did pioneered this stuff. This is why we chose to talk to you today. Because...
Oh, I thought it was the $100 I donated to the theater.
Well, you can talk to Andrew about that later. You know, I didn't know about that deal. But
it's cheap, $100 for this? I got dinner out of it too, it's crazy.
You know, I mean, this is huge that you were pioneering these efforts in Mid-Coast Maine when nobody else was doing it. So tell me about the food scene in Rockland. Like when you decided to move to Maine, what year was that? When was that?
It was 88, 89.
And what was going on in Maine at that point? Why did you even pick Maine?
I had no effing idea.
What was going through your head?
What was going on?
Because you're in Pennsylvania, right? That's where you grew up.
Well, we were living in Cape May, New Jersey, Evelyn and I.
You were in Cape May, okay.
A great restaurant town in the 80s. And as we have seen, when things get gentrified, it essentially took out the entrepreneurial startup business just in terms of cost of real estate, whether it was renting or buying. And we wanted to own our own building for this thing named after Miranda the dog. Does everybody know Miranda's a dog? Woof. Yep. Miranda, her ashes are in the restaurant. Aww. And her collar and her bowls are above the window on the left. So you walk in, look over there, you'll see it. And we named this idea, which was 10 years before it happened. And Evelyns here to fact check. You can check with her on everything later. It's right over here. And we decided we wanted to do this thing. And so that's how the cuisine started developing. We were not very rich, and we were buying all the dried beans, the canned tomatoes, using all the coupons. And we started to come up with these styles. And I think it started a lot with like roasting greens. And this is like way back with greens and cheeses and making this roasted greens plate with bread and a great glass of wine. Nobody was doing that. And I think they were doing it other places, but we were not seeing what other people were doing. So did that answer the question?
It does.
Oh, how do we get to Maine?
But I still want to know how you got to Maine and why you guys even picked Maine. What was going through your head when you said, all right, let's just drive north?
I don't know, Evelyn's smiling over there and saying nothing was going through our heads. I know she is. It seemed like a good idea at the time. We were trying to figure the place where we could own a building to do this little restaurant. And I took a job at the East Wind Inn in Tenants Harbor for the fabulous Tim Watts. And we just came through here. We looked at a lot of places, and for some reason, we were looking at like, look at the price of houses. Like Victorian houses, $40,000, and like $2 million in Cape May. So we thought, okay, this could be it. And you know, with one eye closed, here we are. And Evelyn does fabulous leather work and also wait tables, pastry cook, all this stuff. So we decided to move to Maine. And then we're looking for a building, and we found this little one in Rockland, which was, you know, you went to Rockland for a beer and a beating. I mean, that was what Rockland was known for.
I thought Rockland was known for Camden by the Sea, Rockland by the Smell.
And that's true. They had, you know, the fish rendering plants, and then the sewage treatment plant was, and they would put vanilla in it, so it would smell like vanilla poop. Really sets up your appetite before you go into Miranda, like, right. And there was nothing going. You go to Rockland now, there's like cars everywhere. There was nothing. We would be cooking our asses off and slamming through the thing, Evelyn and I and the crew. And you'd go out, you think the whole world outside is like this. You walk out and it was like crickets. It was crickets. And I thought the whole world's on fire outside, just like what's going on here. And you walk out and it was like the parking lot was empty.
So who were you cooking for? If there was
people started coming. I developed a reputation at the East Wind.
Yeah.
And people started coming, like, who's doing black bean fritters with avocado and tahini demi-glaze with lamb chops? This is 1989 in Maine, right? You know, who's doing wasabi, pickled ginger, and a seared halibut with, you know, the guy I work for, just a quick one.
Tim Watts?
Tim Watts.
Yeah.
So I did the seared halibut and this grilled scallion, and pickled ginger and the wasabi. And he looks at the fish, he goes, you ruined this fish. I'm like, no, it's absolutely effing perfect. And he goes, nope, but I sure do like guacamole. And he grabbed that wasabi.
You showed him. Touché.
I laughed my ass off. It was great. It was like all over the wall, you know. It's like,
Is that when he said, you need to go open up your own place?
no, that was the first of the battle of the baked potato, the battle of the salad dressing. I mean, there's all these battles.
So tell me about the Battle of the Baked Potato. This is actually very interesting. And, you know, the whole idea of bread with butter on the table right when you sit down, and the rolls and butter, and then you get the baked potato, and you get, you know, your sour cream. So, I mean, why didn't you want to do that? Why didn't you want to do that at Café Miranda? That would have been safe. It would have been well received, right? I mean, you could have done
yeah, but there's, okay, so I guess the iconoclast is part of like the makeup, and again, unencumbered, gets me to a place where I found all these other things interesting and valid, and I thought, well, if I think they're cool, doesn't everybody? So that's what you do as an entrepreneur, which is, as I said earlier, we're having this discussion about how entrepreneurism and falling in love should be classified as a mental illness, because you're going like, wow, man, great, I'm in, you know? And then you have to deal with the reality. What was the question?
baked potatoes.
The battle of baked potatoes.
What happened to the baked potato battle?
Okay, so, you know, when it came to Maine, Evelyn and I were, you know, we'd go out and we'd say, my God, this is like mid-60s continental dining, like veal Oscar here too, you know, like what? And I just had this fabulous chicken piccata over at the pub over here, on the money, like talk about old school dishes. But yeah, so, you know, when we opened, we didn't put butter on the table, we put olive oil. Now everybody here thinks like, oh yeah, what's the big deal with that? Like, it was a big deal. This is, you know, 27 years ago where, you know, people were still watching, you know, Leave It to Beaver here or something, I don't know. So we're doing this different thing where it's like, oh, it doesn't come with the baked potato, it has stir-fried rice noodles, because, you know, and what kind of salad dressings? No, it's olive oil and a lemon on the side. So these things here were groundbreaking. And we took the chance of quitting the jobs we had, going to debt for more than 4 times what we were making, with no prospectus and nobody in the state doing anything even remotely. Remember the mental illness part? Yeah, like there. And we did it because we thought we had something that had soul, it had something that was a little bit different. And we wanted to make a living at the things we like to do when nobody's telling us what to do. So that was the game.
You took a gamble, but it worked out.
And it was a gambling club that we went into, the Al Benevolent and Fraternal Club. Oh, do we have to go away now? Is that it? Do I have to stop talking now?
I think so. You got 20 seconds.
Okay, go on. So anyway, breaking those norms of what people thought and bringing a different style of eating to the state of Maine. And part of the reason we were able to be successful is because we often offered such a variety. So you'd say, oh, they just do Italian food. Oh, they just do this, or they just do that. No, people said, oh, I just like meat and potatoes. There's a dish on the menu called meat and potatoes. Right? Okay, you want meat and potatoes? Uncle Jimmy, you're in. So I call it the fourth person. Like 3 people get it and 1 person doesn't, or 1 person gets it and 3 people don't, but there's something for you everywhere. And kids. Like we wanted kids to come in with fine dining. Like when you first came in, you brought your little baby.
I did.
And we welcomed that because Evelyn and I went to Italy when our son was like this big, whatever size that is. And the wait staff would come over and grab them. They'd bring them back, change diaper. Then change the diaper, they take them away again. We're like, that's what we want our place to be like. And it is to this day. It has that spirit that both of us imbibe that place with, which is hospitable, accommodating, skip the ego, just like skip that please. And we want to be the place in a little town. But then all this other stuff happened around us, the Farnsworth and the museums and all this stuff. And like now we look like we were effing crazy, and now we look like we're so smart and prescient. How about that? Rockland, are you crazy?
Well, Rockland's now like the arts capital.
Yeah, arts capital. That's like, if you would have told me that in 93, I would say, can I have what you're smoking?
I think the Farnsworth opened up in 1948.
Yeah, but then it did this huge expansion, and it's right behind us. So there's great things have happened around us, and I'm so grateful for all of it, really.
I love what you said, that it took a couple of people to shape the Mid-Coast food
couple of
scene.
dreams changed the community.
Couple of dreams changed the community.
Yep, just a few of those.
You have Melissa Kelly with Primo, and what she was trying to do was just as hard. I mean, when you're thinking of 2 separate movements going on, but a common goal, really.
Well, I think a common goal of bringing quality. And one of the things that when we opened, the Brown Bag was there. If anybody remembers the Marr sisters from the Brown Bag in Rockland, which is really, talk about pioneers and stuff. There's a lot of people that didn't last like to today, but they had long careers that shaped it. The guys from Arrows, David Grant from Camden, at Aubergine. There's a whole bunch of people. And Martin, what she said to me, I said, we're going to open this place, we're going to do lunch and dinner. She says, Kerry, good stuff just eliminates crap. I'm not so worried about it. And there was 5 or 6 restaurants in Rockland. Now there's like 40. We had our best year ever this year. So more the merrier, and it raises the profile of what we're all doing and raises the expectation. I think the floor of what a Maine food is to be is gone up. I mean, every fried fish place is great. The lobster rolls are great. And what is expected is a little higher. And if you're not doing farm to table now, you're not really in the game, but it's just expected. But you don't even have to say it, because you just should be doing it, because that's just the right way to do stuff. And we've been doing it since the very beginning.
So tell us about the whole farm to table. When did you make that decision to open up Headacre Farms? Tell us about the farm.
Okay, so it seems like, yes, I really want to grow these vegetables, but really I just wanted a barn for my cars and my motorcycles, and that's really what it was about. And the farm came with it. Ev's over here laughing, I know this. And it's true that we thought, okay, that'd be nice to grow some vegetables. And it was a stops and starts and stops and starts. And then our longtime friend, Ann Perkins, said, we were at a Billy's Tavern one night, and she says, what are you doing with that farm? I'm like, we're stopping and starting. We can't figure out how to do it. It's very labor intensive. And she's a retired corporate auditor, which is the perfect resume to become a farmer, right? And I told her, I said, geez, when I retire, I'm going to become a corporate auditor. Hell, how hard could it possibly be? So Ann started, and when you run into people of strong personality like Ann, you realize, I can't really manage this person, and I don't want to, and I don't want to argue with it. So I rent her the ground for a very small fee. And she does this thing, check out the Facebook page, Headacre Farm, and we buy the vegetables from her. So it's this beautiful thing. There's pink flamingos out, all in the bushes out there. And it's a fabulous little garden. I think we have some pictures. Oh my God, there's the Fluff.
Yeah, so
there she is.
we can't talk about Kerry without talking about Aunt Flo. So tell us about Aunt Flo and Fluff.
So her name is Florence Medoffery. I think it's Dorothy in the middle. Dorothy Medoffery. And my dad's sister, now she wanted to be a cross between Cleopatra and Cher. Did she nail it or what? Right? So she lived right next door to us, her and my grandmother, and she married, Vince, which is a whole nother story. He looks like Jerry Vale to this day in his 90s. You can imagine, like, her and Jerry Vale hanging out. I mean, good God. I mean, it's like fabulous. He had the hair, the look, oh my God, the wad of cash and a gun. So anyway, so Fluff was, she passed away this past year, and I would go over to her house, and she would make us, my mom Polish and had some difficulties, Polish-Lithuanian, and she would feed us. So she would come over, I would go over and we'd say, Fluff, we're hungry, and she would it was actually mostly the farfalle, the butterfly pasta. And she would saute it in the pan with olive oil with some onions and throw in some cauliflower and a little bit of water and steam it, a bunch of parsley, lemon, and it was vegetarian, right? And it was delicious.
Wondering where that came from.
So it's the brown butter, the punches of parsley, the lemon, the cheese, and it makes it just a wonderful dish. And she would make that for us. So it's on our menu. Well, there it is.
There it is.
Auntie Fluffy's, and there she is.
And I love how you say the cauliflower is the star.
Oh,
of
the
that
cauliflower's
dish.
the star, yeah. So
See how far ahead he is? And now we have Green Giant putting the cauliflower in bags times a million in all the stores.
Yep.
And he was already serving up.
you know, we call them
you were way ahead.
the disregarded vegetables. You know, like kale.
Brussels
What happened to
sprouts.
kale? Like kale was like the zucchini's now going. What happened to me? Kale passed me out. What's going on here? You know, so there's like, you know, kohlrabi's still sitting in the corner going, yeah, it's just not going to happen, man. You know.
How about Brussels sprouts?
Oh, Brussels sprouts too. Another one of like the miniature cabbages. So we've been doing Brussels sprouts, roasted them in the oven. Well, Evan and I were doing all kinds of roasted vegetables way back, and it became a staple. And like, it's funny, like you see the trend, like come, go through us, and then go by, and we're still doing that, and then it'll come around again, and here it is. Remember when balsamic vinegar was a big deal? Mm-hmm. Yeah, right.
How about walnut oil?
And the raspberry vinegar. Holy 80s girly. Oh my God. Yeah, raspberry
all
vinegar
about
and walnut
that.
oil. Oh my
Yes,
God.
Yes.
Yeah, well, there's Precious and LaValley cuisine, as we used to call it. It was like, puddle, pared carrot, lamb chop, $30, right? There you go. Well, we feed you, not fool you at Miranda, so that'll feed you, that one. And there it is, 13
There it
Oak
is.
Street.
All cleaned up.
It's actually, we call it 15 because the gambling club didn't want to say its actual address, which is 13. So everybody knows it is 15 Oak Street till you see the UPS driver, the new one, come outside and he's standing out there going, there is no 13.
Oh, God.
Where the hell's the 13? But there it is, the Al Benevolent Fraternal Club and the Schlitz sign in the window because we go lowbrow and highbrow. $3 for a 16-ounce Schlitz, you got it.
No. So what's your love affair with Flamingos? Where did that come from?
So my parents had a house, and it was architect design, 60s, think bar in the basement, Naughty Pine. Everybody get the picture here? The
yeah.
neon,
Yep.
the tile floor, the stainless counters in the kitchen, and all that stuff. And the bathroom had these huge glass blocks on the walls. And in the bathtub, which was a glass enclosure with a light blue tub diagonal, had all these flamingos and palm trees etched into the wall. Right. Yeah, you should think that's funny. So what's really funny is that my blood brother, my youngest brother from my dad's first marriage, which would be the one I came from, he had not visited here till a year ago in September, and then this past September with his family. There was a whole bunch of stuff that went on that kept us all apart, but now everything
Right.
seems to be better.
And he's like 92, 93?
Well, I'm talking about my brother.
Oh, your brother.
My brother, who's like 50-something or other. And he says, wow, man, you really took that flamingo thing pretty far. I'm like, yeah. So he whips out his phone, and he shows me the house he built in Pennsylvania, and he sent out tiles and had the flamingos etched in them. And he built this 10 years ago, and I hardly even knew this guy. Right. So we have the pictures of he goes, check this out, man. He had sent out tiles and had them etched and did the same thing in the tub as the
Go
flamingos.
figure.
Yeah, I mean, the pink birds, man. They're everywhere.
Ah.
Hold on, we got something in here. We might have something.
You never know.
Here you go. Here's some-
What is that? What's in
They're
there?
flamingos.
Can I have one?
Oh, throw one out there to them.
All right. There
Whip
you
one
go,
out there.
Evelyn.
There you go. Okay. Yeah, we don't have. We couldn't get the T-shirt gun because we were afraid of hurting somebody. So this is as good as we're gonna get. I was gonna get my son's potato cannon and shoot T-shirts, but I thought we don't need a lawsuit as part of this little soiree here. Yes. So Miranda, there it is, 13 Oak Street in an unlikely
Awesome.
town. There's
and
Evo.
Who's that lady, right?
That's
there?
Evelyn Donnelly, Evelyn Ann Donnelly, who's the co-founder, mother of our son, best pal you could ever have.
And your motorcycle buddy.
Oh yeah, we go out riding with her and her boyfriend Chad. We go out riding motorbikes, and they're participating in our next venture, the bar and lounge in Rockland. Actually, the bar that we bought, an antique bar, is actually in their shop in Warren, getting refinished right now. So we're working on it.
So what's the address of Bar and Lounge? Is it going to be on Main Street?
432 Maine. I mean, it's not a done deal yet. Everything hasn't been signed, but we already got the 60-inch by 24 neon bar sign, and the bar itself from the Alphonse P. D'Amato American Legion post in Shenandoah, Pennsylvania, where I grew up. An antique bar from the 20s and 30s.
Wow.
So we have history, we have connection, we have all this stuff. We want this place to be like the place that you always say, like, where's the one in Rockland that's been here forever? Which is actually the Myrtle, but that's a whole nother story. Anybody know the Myrtle out there? Yep, their motto is not just for whores and sailors anymore. So you get the kind of the idea of the clientele for that one. Not just, I mean, inclusion. It's all about inclusion now, right?
That's right.
Yep, okay.
So now you and Evelyn are
Yep.
getting in a truck, and you're leaving Pennsylvania, driving up to Maine.
New Jersey. She was in
From
the
New
truck, I
Jersey.
was in the Triumph.
Okay.
With Miranda the dog.
That's right. Yeah.
And there are so many stories around this. How unlikely it is that a life path that was hardly linear got me sitting on the stage with you and the respect of you people out there. It is unbelievable, and I'm so grateful. Thank you for that.
Well, we're sure glad that you and Evelyn left Jersey, because we both share that same dream. We both got out of New Jersey.
Yeah.
So,
Well,
you know what?
in defense of New Jersey,
in defense
though.
of New Jersey.
So they call it the Garden State, right?
Yep.
Everybody thinks, like, we're between the chemical waste swamps. Do you grow those vegetables anyway? So it's actually South Jersey is, Cape May's below the Mason-Dixon line, and
Best
the corn and
corn,
the tomatoes
best
and the
tomatoes.
peaches. Oh my God, the tomatoes. Even the Italian Americans say almost as good as San Marzano, and for them to even say that, they must be impressed. So that's where I was also doing farm to table there, because the farm was right across the street. We'd leave the restaurant, we'd go there, we'd stop for a couple shots at the bar, but that was the 80s, right? Right, it was the 80s. And that's what kind of fun we had. But it was instructive because it was a very progressive restaurant town. The fellow that owned the Mad Batter, which is a well-known restaurant on, I don't remember which street, but he took his whole crew to Thailand. Like, this is like 1978, right? So I show up like in whatever, 83, 84, and all these people are doing all this like coconut milk and rice noodles. I'm like, oh, I'm in on this. And, you know, you have these couple of visionaries that change. So that legacy, when I went back to Cape May, I got to talk to Harry, I said, you know, I'm doing it now. And look at the legacy. The late Joe Latoso. Many people have gone through here and have influenced what Miranda is and what it's become. And it continues to influence and make lives better. Not just because you're putting the food in your mouth, the people that work there. I want it to be the best job you ever had, and it takes all of us to make that happen.
So that being said, I'm a chef. I want to cook at Café Miranda, and I show up and I see a menu like this.
Oh, we send you out for the lobotomy immediately.
I mean, I'd have a panic attack, even if I was a good chef. And you know, I've sat there and I've watched, you know, the open kitchen concept thing, and I'm watching and seeing what they're doing because I always want to know what's going on back of the house. I'm thinking to myself, it's like a ballet. I mean, it's like a symphony. They all
Slam
move
dance.
just so that
Polka?
You know, you're pulling things out of the oven, you're putting things into the wood-fired oven. Tell us a story about the oven.
Well,
How was that received when you decided to change the game with olive oil and
no fryer.
And no fryer.
No
Tell us
fryer.
about that.
I mean,
I noticed there's
fryer
nothing
guys.
fried on here. Yeah.
Well, there actually is now. So we have a little fryer
Nice.
now.
Yeah.
And the police guys, or the fire guys.
Code enforcement guys, yeah.
Say, where are you putting the fryer? And we're like, we have no fryer. Look, here's the plans. They're like, no, really, where's the fryer? We're like, no, but we'll have this wood-fired oven. Wood fire. So that changed a few games. And we have the oldest one, continue operating in the state, and the same guy that built mine, the great Pat Manley, built mine, built Melissa's, built Sam Hayward's at 4th Street, Black Crow Bakery. Yeah, it's like the brick oven capital of the world around here. So everybody seems to have one. And, excuse me, using it in non-conventional ways is really what our signature is, if I had anything to say about that. Like, we make your burrito in the brick oven, you know? Or
The
your
chowders.
The chowder.
Yeah.
Which is really, you know, a way around not making soup. Because we make it to order in the brick oven, because you have like 900 degrees, and you have potatoes, onions, bacon, fish, cream, stock, herb.
But it just tastes amazing, and the smell from it is
Yeah,
just
people say
fantastic.
it is well received, and I just laughed because it was a total toss-off. It was like, yeah, we gotta have chowder, like whatever, you're like this. And then it became like this thing that I had the other day, because I'm like, oh my God, it's great.
But what I love about how you make the sound so simple and easy, but there's methodology behind it, because
Oh yeah.
it's not easy to have 150 items on a menu and orchestrate it with 300 lunches.
150 lunches, and
150
200
lunches,
dinners,
200
whatever.
dinners, whatever.
Plus
on
all the
a 7
catering we're
days
doing.
a week, plus the catering, and you know, how do you work all that out? How do you get all of the efficiencies in place so that you can sustain that level and maintain the quality of that menu so that you can be in business for 25 years?
Well, the first is it takes a great crew, and the crew to pay attention to all the things and to address like the fear of the cooks. Oh yeah, we've had people who are, you know, the tattooed, dreadlocked, orange, mohawked, like shivering and like going home crying. And that's not the point. The point is that that's not the point of the menu, is to make cooks scared. The idea is to enjoy, for the customers get enjoyment and variety. However, the only way you can execute this menu is you can't do it by rote, because there's just too many things to remember. So you have to understand each dish, and every time you make it, it talks to you. So when I tell young cooks or old cooks or whatever, I said, you know, you're gonna do this, you're gonna try to repeat it, but it'll tell you what it needs. When it starts talking to you, you'll get it. And they look at me like, who is this geezer? You know? I'm like, no man, this is the way it's gonna work. And when they get it, they go, oh yeah, it started talking to me. Like, yeah, exactly. It's like you're looking at it going, what the hell does this need? Oh, the olives, the olives to it. So that's the kind of way you do it. And then the organizational model is very tight. We use a fair amount of a lot of different things. So I often say, if we had 5 items on the menu, a chicken, a steak, a fish, and you're, you know, vegetarian. That's not the way I actually think. How many chickens do you need? Like 150 or like 8? So actually, this is actually easier to me, the way my head works, because you have all this depth and you have backups. So you have like a deep bench of ingredients. So if you run out of like chicken breast, well, there's the chicken confit, there's the chicken chunks, there's the duck, there's this, there's that. So like, pick something else. There's still 149 left. So it actually makes sense on my weird scale. And the cooks that work there, after a while, they go, wow, what a system. This thing is, well, insane, yes, but it does work.
It's like a diner on acid.
That's what they once said to me. Not everybody likes to hear that one. Like my crewers, they're all youngsters, and they're thinking like, oh, that's like bad to say. I'm like, look, we have a history, and you must acknowledge the history, and without that, you have nothing. So, I'm not saying go trip tomorrow and go to work, but you know, that's not what we mean. It's, I'm just very lucky. Keep going.
So where did you go to school? I mean, did you learn all this in culinary school, or are you self-taught, or like how did you figure all this out?
Remember down in Cumberland Park? Remember that? Yeah. Well, I did take a class at a community college in the early 80s, like for a few months, which was a method-oriented course with Chef Bob. Oh, what was Bob's name? Anyway, he was ex-CIA instructor, and he would just scream, there's method to the madness. I went, yeah, I get that. So you get the techniques down, and you look at a technique, and you can say, oh, that's the same thing in Indian food, it's the same thing, stir fries, a saute, it's a this, it's a that. It's like everybody's got a pierogi, right? It's a dumpling, it's an empanada, it's a samosa, like pick it. Everybody's got one. So you just start seeing the commonalities. So for me, I see the commonalities, I don't see the differences. Like something to make the chart that has like, okay, garlic, Thai food, Indian food, it goes everywhere. And then you see, oh, onions go like, well, everywhere. So you have, you know, so I see the commonalities rather than the
I
differences.
get that. I mean, I see it between Italian food and then Indian food and Mexican food. You know, Mexicans have the sofrito, and they have got
right, the batard, whatever.
Yeah, and
you know,
we've got we've got the cilantro chutney. So you know, I see it.
Yep.
You got the pesto.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's not like everybody thought, oh, I'm going to make this. It's like what you had. I mean, we don't have chowder here because somebody said, oh, I'm going to come up with this fabulous dish. No, it's because it's the middle of the winter. You have root vegetables, potatoes and onions, right? You have cured pork, right? You have salted fish, right? Potatoes, right? Done. Chowder, milk, right? It wasn't because it's because what you have, rather than, at least in my estimation, rather than what you dream of. I'm sure they were dreaming of oranges, but that wasn't happening.
I'm sure you would have made that happen too.
No evo.
Yeah. So there you are.
Yeah.
Now in the middle of all of this, you're launching this restaurant, and you have a son.
Yeah, well, he wasn't there the day we opened, but by the time we got to the end of the year, he was. So we had closed on the building, had the champagne, and poof, 9 months later, there he was. And Evelyn not only quit her jobs that she had, we put everything we had on the line and decided to open up this thing, which was most people thought the paint wasn't going to be dry before we were gone, as it was said. And then she was pregnant with all the, you know, what goes on with hormones and stuff. I mean, you got to give her here, take this. You know, so that kind of thing. It was, you know, difficult, and but the first day we got slammed, and it hasn't let up since, because we addressed the need of, I think, of fine food without pretense. We don't do precious well at all, pretty much. That's.
Yeah. Love it.
You know,
And there's Evan.
yeah, that's an older one there.
Now, what does Evan do now? Is he a chef?
Not if he can possibly avoid it. He's a college grad, and he's teaching chess for a foundation in Boston. He rides around his Piaggio scooter to keep teaching K through 5 in various schools of all different types, and he wanted to make a difference. So that's something that I think that Evelyn and myself have always tried to do, is to make a difference, and he's picking that up. So that's what you do with a high-end degree from a liberal arts college. Milo.
Yeah, there's your other baby.
Yeah, Milo, the excellent dog. Evelyn has a sister, Jubilee, by the way.
Oh, yeah?
Yep, and they both howlers.
Tell everyone what you gave Milo for dinner, for his lunch and dinner today.
Oh, well, his breakfast was, we had a slice of pizza from Kushnak in Augusta, and then we put it in his bowl, and then the wet food, and I stick the pizza in like this, then a couple little pieces of salami, and a little bit of water, and then we microwave that with a lid so it kind of gets like pizza stock, right? No, who do I cook for more than anybody else? That guy.
That's
Twice
right.
a day. Look at that. He's like,
That's right.
I notice how small he is too. You know, he's really not that heavy. He's a 105-pound huge husky. And so like I microwave that, then it comes out, then I put 2 kinds of dry food in. A diet dry food, because
Yeah.
and then regular dry food.
Any olive oil?
And then a little drizzle of olive oil and mix that up. And his pill. And then he picks up his big bowl in his mouth and walks across the yard till he wants to dine. He does. Yeah, he's a goof. He's a goof.
What a sweet.
And he's a geezer too. We're both in our 80s. He's in his 80s. I'm in my mid 60s. So what we did, see, I got more metal, like all of this, right? You lose hair and stuff. So I got him a big spike collar this year. So he's like the 80-year-old cream puff dog with a huge spike collar. Bagel.
So tell us
Bagel.
about the holiday bagel. How do we get on this list? Does everybody want to know how we get on this list?
Uh-huh.
Tell us about the bagel.
So the bagel, Evelyn and I, when I met Evelyn, her family was living in North Carolina, which in the late 70s, early 80s, didn't have a lot of bagels around. Had a lot of barbecue. Yeah, the first time I ate the barbecue and the white bread with the chicken with the bone, and I'm like, how are you supposed to eat this thing anyway? So I would bring bagels. And then I thought for holiday, I would have this huge one made. So I had this huge 5-pound bagel made, and then we made this open-faced sandwich. So since then, with the exception of a few years in the early 2000s, like 2008, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, we didn't make it, but we make them and we ship them all over the country. That's who they're getting shipped to. So you have all my friends' addresses and everything here. So when you take this and start sending, are there emails on there too and their phone numbers? No, okay. But we make these bagels. So we took a hiatus for a little while. Then we started making them, I think, 3 or 4 years ago. I keep wanting to go, is that right, Ev? What we did this past couple of years is we send them to our friends who have expecting them, and they come with the direction to make this huge holiday open-faced sandwich on the holiday of your choice, whether it's whatever you got going on. And this year, past 2 years, we've been selling them, offering for sale, and we donate all the money to the Knox County Homeless Coalition.
That's fantastic.
So the bagel will do something. So you'll look for it on our Facebook pages and our social media and our website. And you can order a bagel, and Ev and I and Evan and Chad and Evan's girlfriend will be in my shop with one of our mobile brick ovens somewhere before Christmas, cranking out like a couple hundred of these massive bagels.
So the one that gets shipped out is 5 pounds?
No, they're 2.5, I think now.
That's huge.
Yeah, I think they're like 2.5 pounds now. So they're about this big. And we boil them and do all the stuff. And we bake them in a wood-fired oven too.
That's awesome.
So we have this
smell
different
really
thing.
Good.
Yeah, they're fabulous. So the bagel, that's the bagel
Awesome.
orama right there.
I need to make sure I put that on my calendar.
Oh
there.
yes, do it. Oh, there it is on fire. That's Miranda on fire.
So what happened here?
Oh man,
Because
it still does this to me.
2007,
2007, September 13th, 12:05 a.m.
the call that nobody ever wants to get, and you got it.
Yep, I told Paul Lombardo, the sous chef. I was talking to Dave Joseph, who was the other sous chef at the time, and he owns Willow Bake Shop in Rockland now. And I told him the last thing I said, don't call me unless it's on fire. Don't ever do that. Just saying. Because when they call you up and said, hey man, I'm calling you, that's a tough one to get.
What was going through your head at that point? And where were you?
Oh, whiskey, immediately.
Where were you? When
I was
you
in
got the
Reno,
call?
Nevada with my son. We were at the national air races watching these World War II fighter planes go around pylons. and race in the desert. And then they had jets too. We'll talk about like the idiot insurance company. Who does this? And so we're out there and we were at a bar and it was 8:05 and I got the call and they said, the alarm went off and I thought one of the dishwashers was upstairs smoking bad stuff again, you know, because it happens, that's kind of the trade. And they said, no sir, flames have been seen in your building. And then, yeah.
And you were with Evan?
I was with Evan, we're sitting at a bar, I immediately ordered whiskey, and then I went on to like the web. I had my BlackBerry, remember those with a little wheel on the side? Yep. I was doing that and I saw that picture. I was like, oh boy, this is not gonna go well. So that was that. We opened in 6 weeks and a day. Was it 8 weeks and a day? I don't remember right now.
What caused the fire? Do you know?
Skip.
Who's Skip?
Well, Skip's picture is going to come up. Here's my longtime pal after the fire. He's
Oh,
been working with us.
that's
There's Skip.
Oh, that's Skip.
Skip the clown. Vietnam vet, medic in Vietnam, recovered heroin addict, lived on the street in the Bronx in a box, went to clown college, was a roadie for ZZ Top for years, and then showed up in Rockland and became one of my best friends and accidentally set my place on fire. Yeah. So
And it's ironic because it was the hot oil?
it was hot oil.
Because you never had a deep fryer.
No, we had a little cast iron pot. We were doing this beautiful dish with like fried oysters and a buttermilk dressing with arugula. This is 2008, right? Before all the oyster thing happened. And 2007. And Skip turned everything on instead of turning everything off. And then it caught on fire and caught the building on fire. A little pot exploded. And every year we have a memorial party. We take the exhaust hoods. The big stainless things are over the range. And my son and I buried them in our yard like Stonehenge. And every year at 12:05 on the 13th, Evelyn lit it up this past September. And we have a little pot that actually set the fire full of kerosene and a huge brush pile. And we go get our druid on and dance around. And take it back. It's like the year after, well, there's Skip lighting the first one. That's Skip. There's me about 45 pounds heavier. There it is, okay. I gotta tell you that. And there he is, Skip with the torch. That's my chicken scratch fire. And first anniversary, this is 2008. That's Skip with the burn permit. And there he is lighting the thing on fire. The late Skip LaValley. Thank you, Skip, for so much. Man, what a guy. You know, and we all know Vietnam vets, and I'm of that generation. And this guy was a survivor and really did good stuff for his family, for humanity, in spite of a lot of challenges this guy had. You know, when they were doing that, the marijuana helicopters, the UE helicopters, it would his whole body would change. And you know, you got to thank these guys for what they did and the crap they put up with when they got back home. But we were good buds. First anniversary, Skipper. So Skip is still around. So one of the anniversaries was the fire night, and we had put the fryer in after this, right? So I'm cooking. It's like, okay, we got to get out of here. We got to close this place down. The fryer started leaking and caught on fire.
Oh my
Right. Gosh. So I'm sitting there, and we just started laughing. I mean, we're cooks. We see fire all the time. It doesn't bother us. So the fryer started leaking. I'm like, really? It just like sprung a leak in there, and it's on fire, and we're standing there. People are getting fed. And we're like, oh, get the baking soda, throw it in there. And we're like, okay, Skip. But also, he would clean the dining room, and he would always turn the paintings. Were always just like a little off. Because I could see him there in the middle of the night going, oh, that looks right. Right? And occasionally I walk in the place and the paintings are all crooked. I don't know. I'm not I don't know. I'm just saying. I don't have a belief system. I'm just saying this is what's going on. So you pick it. It happens at my house too, because he used to do my house too.
Wow. Some
Some days you'll go like, oh, he's been around, man. I don't know how all that works. All I'm saying, it's like gravity, right? With gravity. Here it is, right? Right? Works, right? You know how that works? I don't know. Anybody know how gravity works? Nobody knows how it works. So I don't know how this stuff works. So there it is.
Wow, he lives on.
Yeah, Skip. Okay. Are we dragging on too long? Should we get moving here?
Yeah. Headacre. So tell us about this farm. Like we heard that you started it out with Ann Perkins.
Yep.
Owl's Head.
She's still there. Dogs on premise. The insurance company made me do that for the vicious Milo.
Milo, 105
This guy's a
pounds
cream
of
puff. He'll eat a biscuit out of your hand like that. And there it is.
There's the farm.
And there we are. Notice the
And
flamingos.
there's the man and his farm.
And in the way background, those are the hoods where you do the fire. See those things sticking up back there? Right over my shoulder? And there's birds everywhere, and that's Ann Perkins' beautiful farm. I mean, it's gorgeous out there. So it's called the Gentleman's Farm. So we have to change that because I'm not a gentleman. So
So tell us about this beautiful dish. So in 2012, you won Maine Lobster Chef of the Year.
Yep. Yeah, we
And
smoked it too. It was
you
hilarious.
You were putting all this stuff together after the fire, getting your life back together,
Yeah.
the business
There was a lot of
back.
challenges for
Did you
all
think
of
you
us.
were going to bounce back from that fire? I mean, or did you think you were done?
I don't know, you put one foot in front of the other, keep marching, don't crawl in the foxhole. Get up and get going. So we often say with all of us that we had a very difficult time. Everybody's great now. However, you got to get yourself up and keep going. It's not what you do when you get knocked down, it's what you do when you get up.
And this dish is testament to that.
That's part of it. It took a lot of steps, and it took a lot of dope slaps from the gods, if you will, to get my attention to refine. Because I figured that every crazy thing I was ever in, I was there. So, what's the common element? It's me. So then you start looking at it, right? You start looking at it and go, all right, well, what's my role in this stuff? And what are the steps to get out of that? And what I wanted to do is I wanted to be admirable, not for the sake of admiration, but to have those qualities that are admirable. And I had a good start on it, a good heart, all this stuff, but I was pretty wild and nuts and hardly any angel. So first getting your body together, the mind together, and hoping the heart comes back, which it has. And part of it is where my touchstone is with the food. So this one was Harvest on the Harbor, Top of the Crop, which was a competition for farm-to-table restaurants.
Right.
And this one, so it's called Farm Ocean Tree. So we have farm the kale, and the apples are right from the Headacre Farm. Ocean is the local clams. Or the tree is obviously the apples. And then it was a pork loin from Cheryl from Terra Optima Farm. And then my then wife, Christina Rump, we were coming up with this dish. And she said, you should get the plate made too, because how do the judges get, if you have everything that's on the plate, like the butter is local butter, everything was from the local. So
Even the salt was
the
marsh.
salt, everything, and the plate too. And we had this kind of like C thing done into it, this nice oval plate, and we killed it. It was awesome.
Oh, I was there. I know you killed it. You did.
And I feel very grateful for that
And
one too.
I was in a way, auditioning you to be the host of the Clawdown.
Yes,
Because I watched you on stage that night.
I got to be
so
a
the
judge.
Clawdown
then I
was,
got this.
an event that was conceived by the Boothbay Harbor Region Chamber of Commerce at a time when basically lobster had tanked, and it was a way to find, folks to buy lobster in large amounts so that we could support our neighbors, our lobstermen,
Right.
and get them back on track. And so we said, how about we come up with a lobster bite competition and get the restaurants who compete to have to buy the lobster from the lobstermen that live
It was
right next door.
hundreds of pounds of picked meat.
And it was
pretty outrageous.
450 pounds of shucked lobster
Yeah.
that was consumed
Which is like 1 million
in
unshucked, right?
2 hours.
Yeah.
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 And it was sold out year after year after year, and it was very successful.
Yeah, and things have a run. Things have a
Yeah.
run. They go through their run, like our flock party we've done. And on the first Friday in June, come to the flock party. It's free, and we support the Homeless Coalition. We raised $30,000 for them this past year.
So these two guys, this was a memorable moment for them as much as it was for you, because, you were the host that night at the Clawdown.
I was thinking, is that the same sweater?
The famous red jacket.
I almost wore the green one. I almost did.
Yeah.
But thank you.
And these guys just looked up to you, in a big way, because you're like the chef's chef, and they still look up to you. And
Thank you.
then they saw you at Harvest on the Harbor, where you were the host again, and they both won Harvest on the Harbor as well as the Clawdown in Boothbay.
Oh, they killed it too.
They went all the way that year.
Yep.
And, that was the year your cookbook came out, and, it was just a great way for you to mentor them without really mentoring them, because they were watching
Oh
you
my
and
God, that
everything
is the
you had
same
done.
jacket, isn't it? Oh my God, it's the one with the stitching. It is. I wonder what's in the pockets. Is there a piece of lobster in here? Like, what's going on? Oh my God, it is the same coat, and I have like a ridiculous amount of sport coats. So that's
Hey,
funny.
you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and you dress it. You do it all. It's recycle, repurpose, reuse. It's
That's
good.
hilarious. It is the
It
same
looked
jacket.
good then, and it looks good now, doesn't it?
Okay, different bracelet, same ring. Notice I see same ring.
There you go. Yeah, you got a different cuff on, but you look good. You look good.
Yeah, there's the book, Grandma's
So now
Spaghetti.
you win Lobster Chef of the Year.
You're all buying the book, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, okay, do that.
Lobster
Shameless
Chef
Commerce
of the,
Division.
You win Lobster Chef of the Year.
Yep.
You win Best Farm to Table
Yep.
in the country.
Well, in the
In
state
the
of
state
Maine.
of Maine. Well,
Yeah,
it's
you know.
really.
Who cares
yeah,
about,
Who cares
you know,
about the
that's
rest
the
of it?
Flatlanders.
Maine,
What do
Maine's
they know?
everything. And while all that's going on, you're writing this cookbook, which has some of the most amazing stories for each recipe.
Oh, they're all
Nobody
stories.
else could have written this for you. Only you could have written it. 'Cause
Well,
if
Kate
you-
had
if
an
you look at it-
unenviable task of like corralling me into specific dishes and reducing the too many verbs. I mean, just whatever, too much words. But it was quite a work, and to say that we weren't challenged. We had the economic meltdown happen. You know, I had fire go on. I had a lot of personal stuff that went on, and all these things were methods of keep on marching and add some positive to my life. And even if everything was not great in other places, if there was something where I could be great at it, go there and do that. You know, but here we are as food pioneers. You know, I wanted to say, like, is everybody in this talk like food pioneers? And what does it take to get in, like, what is a food pioneer? Like, what do you need to know? I mean, how do I qualify for that?
Well, I think you qualify just by being you. You know, if you were anybody else, we wouldn't have had Miranda today, 25 years later.
Well, you know, I have.
Well,
and
you had
me and
Ev,
all
yeah.
that.
and
But
she-
you know what I think it is?
But I also think...
This is what I think you really need to be a food pioneer. It's like, okay. Okay.
You need this squirrel
Right?
pin and the squirrel
Yeah,
hat.
there we go. Now I feel like Daniel Boone. King of the wild frontier of Maine, trying to serve wasabi and people thinking it's avocados. That's crazy. Yep. Is that squirrel? Nope. Anyway, so now I messed up my
No,
hat.
now you
Okay,
got to
so-
keep that on. You can't put that on.
Oh,
and
it's
take it
hot
off.
as hell. Good God.
Oh my goodness. Well, there you are.
No,
you know,
it's same
signing
color
all
as
the
Milo.
books.
Do you notice this?
Yeah.
He's okay. It's all right.
You did feed him this morning.
I did
It's
feed him
good.
this morning.
Yeah.
Yes, there we are,
There
signing
you
a
are, writing
cookbook.
your cookbooks.
Yeah, because we can.
Because we can.
Why not?
Because you can do what?
You know, I had this discussion with a mental health professional friend of mine, and she says, "You really..." Right. I get a lot of these chats, and she said, "You know, you actually can't do everything you think of." I'm like, "No, I can." Right. Well, you can. This was a few years ago. I did admit to her, like last year. I said, "Okay, you win." She says, "But you get pretty close." I'm like, "Yeah, you get pretty close." So the idea is like, why not? Just do what. If you think of something, why not you? And the young people I've mentored, like young Rachel or my son or anybody, I say, well, why not you? If somebody else is doing something, well, why not you? And why not me? And you know, I come from the coal mining hills of Pennsylvania with not a huge horizon, and food and beauty and art changed my life within this. The guys that hired me in Cape May, Antonio Miguel Casasanto and his partner Barry Marin, hired me, and they said, we don't know what you got, but you kids from upstate know how to work hard. And I know how to work hard, and I was, you know, getting in the restaurant business, and we moved to Cape May. And one of the best stories of Anthony was they're both painters. Now they do trompe l'oeil work and all this stuff, because their card says, "C. Barry Marin, Antonio Miguel Casasanto, embellishers, making your world more fabulous." And God almighty, they do. Mm-hmm. So Anthony comes over to me, and he puts his arm, he says, "That's a nice plate, you're doing the color." He says, "But don't make love to it, get it on the effing plate." So yeah, so the idea of a chef is you make beauty and you make your art form, but you do that first, and speed and efficiency is biting its butt the whole way, and you got to hustle to do this. So what we do is like on-demand art, like real fast. I don't really think we're artists, we're more like craftsmen, but that's part of what we do. It is just like that.
150 times.
Oh, over and over with,
Yeah.
you know, and you get burned and
Yeah.
you get sliced and you get, you know, and you do it no matter what. Our application, our hiring document used to say, "We work hurt, sick, and if you're dead, I want to know from the devil." That's yeah.
So
there's
here's your
Ann Perkins.
fabulous crew.
Yep, this is an older group here. Several people are still there. Ann Perkins is driving the Toyota Land Cruiser, the farmer, and that's Barky McBarkface, who I call her dog, in the passenger seat. And oh my God, is that the same jacket? No, it isn't. It's a different one. The people that know me say, "Kerry, you have like 100, freaking sport coats, and you're wearing the same one in every picture. This is nuts." But hello, there's Sam right there, another story. Chef Andrew, who's the general manager right now. Casey, who's our
awesome.
catering manager. Dan, everybody. There's a bunch of people up there.
So how many total employees do you have? How many?
There's like 25 now, 25, 30. And in the summer, we bump it up a little with the catering pickup folks. But we try to provide a year-round job with real-world wages. Yes, that's Natalie Wood in the background on the bathroom door. That is true.
So if you've ever been to Miranda, I'm sure you know the bathrooms are just specced out with Elvis paraphernalia and all
Plates.
sorts of memorabilia on the walls and some fabulous art too.
Yeah,
I mean, some really cool art.
Yeah, local
But
guy.
this bread right here, this focaccia,
Yeah.
I mean, it's killer, right?
And the burnt parts are great. So when you go, ask for some of the burnt parts because huge fun. And people ask for them all the time.
Now, whose recipe was that?
There was no recipe for this. It's kind of, it started with Julia Child's Art of French Cooking, and I was making bread. You know, I did all the hippie doorstop bread. There was like the, you know, all the grains to feed a horse and a loaf of bread. Remember those? Yeah, that's what it was like when I showed up here. There was like crappy bread, like Canadian brown. What is that? It was like on the bag. It was like not whole wheat. It just says Canadian brown. I'm like, all right, it's brown, it's Canadian, it's bread.
It's a staple.
You know, it's like whatever. And then they had Canadian white, which I totally understood. And so there was no good bread. And we said, okay, we got this wood oven. Now I'm making these little focaccias like this big. And then one day we're like, why am I making these little? We cut them all up. So make this huge one. So poof, that's when we started making these huge ones. And then we started doing catering. I was at Cellar Door with one of our first gigs with our portable oven, and we're making pizzas. The same thought. I'm like, what am I making these little pizzas for? Now we make these 19 by 36 inch pizzas that are when we go out catering, so we can serve hundreds of people. None of this waiting 2 hours for your pizza. But anyway, there's the Elvis room.
There's the Elvis
Yeah,
stuff.
there's the Elvis room. That's not the first one though. I don't think it's the first one. How it started was. Somebody came into the restaurant, first couple of weeks we were open, and we have all these salt and pepper shakers and kits around, which is really just me being cheap. I didn't want to buy salt and pepper shakers, so we got them at yard sales. And they said, wow, I got this really tacky kind of Latino Elvis. You want it? I said, yeah, put it in the bathroom. And that's what happened. So I had nothing to do with this. So that's how it got there. Become one of our signature pieces, yep.
Absolutely, and I heard they took really good care of them when they cleaned them up after the fire.
Oh yeah, so when Evan and I walked in and they had the big velvet Elvis as Toreador. The only one I bought, but how could you miss like buying Elvis as Toreador? You know, so, and we walk in after we got back from the flight and they had all the paintings, like the real artwork on these things. They're cleaning them like they're the Mona Lisa, you know, and like they're cleaning the velvet Elvis. It cost $25 at a yard sale and they're spending like $500 cleaning it. I said, we'll be all right. So
But that's when you knew.
That's when we knew. We're like, okay, we're going to make it. And Skip was there, and Skip had only worked for us for like 2.5 months, and he burned the place. Oh. So our first meeting was like, you know, hangdog. Like, oh, I'm like, Skip, accidents happen. Let's like clean this place up and get on with it, because we're just humans. Yeah. And resents like they eat you up and kill you. And Schlitz. That's a stylized one. Ooh, oh, these are the pictures from Bob. Okay, all right. These are little paintings that was made by Bob Besaw in Rockland that I was going to meet him to talk about putting his artwork in the restaurant, and I was late, and he drew these while I was being late and then made me buy them. So, you know, there is justice in this world. Yep.
And he worked you.
Oh,
they
yeah,
are very cute, though. I love them. This is the one I loved the most.
Oh, this one's a good
What does it say on the bottom, Kerry?
It says the United States of Indebtedness. So those are all credit cards.
Isn't that cool?
All of it painted, and then there's the state quarters there. And this is done by Eric Lepinen, an artist from.
Very cool.
And there's welded. This is like spray foam and then household paint filled in.
Did you make this?
No, this is Eric. So Eric
Eric.
uses found materials to do all of his artwork. So you'll see things with paint can lids and stuff like that. So this one, he did it laying horizontally, did the spray foam, painted that silver, and then filled in all these house paints. And it's called welded. And the other one he did, X2, Christina, saw his work at a gallery in Belfast and said, man, you got to check this guy out. And the United States of Indebtedness was the first one that I saw. And it still hangs in the restaurant. It comes and goes sometimes because it gets shown other places.
Oh, cool.
And he changes the artwork out. And this one's a standard. This one I bought too.
It's a beauty.
Yeah. The trucks.
So is this one.
Yeah, the trucks, the 85 step fan. We hot rodded that, put a big carburetor on it, and we have headers on it, and
the pink flamingo.
And the pink flamingo, and that's what we haul our ovens around with, our 3.5-ton wood-fired ovens. Wow. So we can come to your house and do whatever we do in the restaurant, wherever you want it, in the middle of a field, in a rainstorm, when your shoes are sticking in the mud. Oh, there we are, starting it. Yeah, that's one of them.
Do you just keep that thing running all day and all night? Or
no, you have to start it. For an event, you have to
is it?
start it a day before.
A whole day before?
Yep. Yeah, that's on the farm right there, yes.
And you bake those pizzas right in there? Right
on the deck, like you do, right on the fire's in the back, and here's everything right here. You can fit 3 of these pizzas across. The same with the oven. You turn one, put it over here, do another one over here, put one in the middle, take one out, turn it.
Wow. Wow. Where do you find something like that?
These were built. These were built
you
for
built
us. The
these
same guy that
custom?
built the oven built the brick, and then we had a local fabricator fabricate all the metal. And I didn't want like the silver. Everybody seemed like the silver ones with the copper and like really nice. I said, nah, I want something like a curved roof, like an old caboose, and I want it to look like it's been around for a while. So, mission accomplished. Well, that's around 6 years.
Yeah.
There's the boat.
They're
There's the two of them we currently have.
I love the flamingo on it.
No
That's
flamingos everywhere. Yeah, there it is. Yeah.
Cool.
Up, Chef
There it
Andrew.
is.
There's the man. We need a polite round of applause for Chef Andrew. Can we
He's
have
awesome.
that?
I watched him in action.
He's the general manager
And
of the
there's
place.
no wasted movement.
No wasted
at
movement.
all. It's flawless just to watch him put out all those meals.
It's his 8th year.
Yeah.
Oh, Lori. This is us we support ALS amongst other things. This is actually Andrew's mother-in-law, and she's been stricken with ALS. And my sister, Allaire, is a psychiatrist, PhD psychiatrist that works at the ALS Society at the Hershey Medical Center. So we do a lot of work with that. We're trying to do a lobster dinner in Pennsylvania at the Hershey Medical Center next year. Like, we're going to go invade freaking Pennsylvania too.
Whoa.
Oh yeah, we've invaded all kinds of places.
Taking it back home.
Take it back home. Yep.
So tell us about taking it back home. I mean, you built all of this, then you lost it, then you rebuilt it in 6 weeks and a day.
Yeah.
And now you're sort of leveraging everything that Café Miranda has built, brand-wise,
Yeah.
and you're giving right back to the community that
Yeah.
helped you out.
Well, I'm trying to get to purgatory, you know. You got to give it a shot, you know. I mean, it wasn't looking good there. Sister Annunziata told me, Altiero, if you're lucky, you're going to purgatory. So I actually
Did you go to Catholic school?
Oh yeah, 12 years.
Gosh, we have a lot in common.
Yeah,
You went to
12
Catholic
years.
school. Yeah.
So you know, there's actually a place called Purgatory, Maine. It's by Litchfield. Oh no. If I wanted to look through my phone, I'd find I took the screenshot where it says "Welcome to wherever you are." It says "Welcome to Purgatory," right? Oh yeah, there's no signs. You figured it'd be like folding chairs and like old National Geos and stuff, but no, there was like nothing there. So it just comes up in the GPS. It says "Welcome to Purgatory." I went, "Yep, this is what it's like." So I took the screenshot of that and sent it to all my Catholic school friends and said, "She was right. I'm lucky." So anyway, yeah. Oh my God, where in the hell was this one?
Hey, at least you're wearing a different jacket this time.
Oh my God.
And you got a pink boa, so I mean, you're
Madras
styling.
print with the feather boa? Bad fashion, but yeah.
So tell us about Flock Party.
This is Flock.
You're doing some really cool stuff with, with Hannaford and Chef's Table, and you've committed a lot of your time to doing a lot of charity work,
Yep.
and speaking around and speaking engagements on apprenticing. And so tell us about
That's where I was yesterday.
what
I was in-
motivates you to do all that now.
Well, the crew first does. I'm sorry. Part of it is if you, some of my mentors said, "What do you do with this?" I said, "Well, I'm going to," like I said to Bob Baines, I said, "Bob, I'm buying you dinner." And he goes, "I don't need the $12. Dinner was cheap in '93." And I said, "What do you do?" He goes, "Well, you got to do this for other people." And he said, "If you get one or two in a lifetime, good odds." And we've been way luckier than that. So that extends to leveraging Miranda's brand to do other things, to do charitable work. So if we come up with something, we do community nights at the Whitehall Inn. We just did the last one of the season, where you come in for a cocktail party, you pay $40, you get the food, you don't get a pitch, you don't get an auction, just hang out in a cool place. So we structured something we could plug various nonprofits in without inventing the wheel every time. So in this one is our Flock Party, which is we did for our 25th anniversary. We raised $18,000 the first year. Last year we raised over 30, and Hannaford is supporting that in terms of childhood nutrition. So when you see my ugly face in your local Hannaford, you will in this January again. We're supporting childhood nutrition, and that's what we do with this. So Hannaford supports the Flock Party. I do a lot of work with them. I was in the Gorham School District doing their Future Day yesterday, talking to young people about careers in hospitality. Mm-hmm. So yeah, this is how you give back, and you can make things win-win, because it serves me in terms of publicity. I mean, it serves us well.
Sure.
Nobody has to suffer for our success, which is one of the things that I really like about living here, because that's the way people think. It's not like I got to take from you to get mine. No, it's not that way.
Right.
And who you screw over in the course of a day is not your measure of success here.
What is your measure of success?
Well, I think I listened to this blues guy recently. Said the armored car don't follow the hearse. The respect follows the hearse. So there you go.
Amen to that.
And that's what we're doing. And you know,
Nicely put, Chef.
I thought I was invisible for a while.
Talk about respect.
Oh, Angus King. So he came into the restaurant. He comes every blues festival. So his handlers send me a text the day before blues festival. It's Thursday, it's Friday. Can we get a table for 6 at 7 o'clock? I'm like, oh my God. Right, okay, so we figure it out, we do it. And he says, I want you to come. So I came, and he hands me this thing, and it says, changing. It's a commendation from Angus King. So usually I have something to say, and I think my comment was, dude. That was it. Right, Angus King sitting at the table. Dude. And he has all of his handlers. My friend Sarah McLean is there, Chris Rector and a bunch of people, and they all start laughing, you know, because they've never seen this. But I got that from Angus. So, and the crew, see? Kerry and Miranda crew. It's all about the people we work with, the people we love, all that. You know, it's about humans. That's what we're doing. Oh,
there you are.
There we are.
Looking
Kathy
spiffy.
Gunster's going to be here from NPR. Anybody listen to her
That's
on
right.
NPR? She's
Now.
going to be here on this very stage. Doreen, David Turin, who's had the greatest comment about chefs. He says, we don't get extra points for making this difficult. Thank you, David. You know, for the
That's
esoteric.
quite a lineup there.
Yeah,
So how did you get involved with Hannaford? Did they approach you, or?
Yep. They were looking for people who could speak to their brand. And Hannaford, while being owned by Delhaize, is also a Maine company. They think that way. So we had all of us. Now, Kathy Gunst, she's, you know, left wing. Here she is, NPR person. And we're all sitting at this table with all the buyers. And we're like, why should we do this? Why should we ally our brands with this international chain? And they started telling us what they're doing. They're like,
What are they doing?
Like millions, like whatever, 1,250,000 pounds or something of food. Did you get yours? Did you get your pound? No, I didn't get mine. And the charitable work they're doing. So now one of the things they're doing in late September, actually in November, because they changed it because September's over, that they're going to open up weekend food pantries for schools in the state of Maine. I think what they're doing in Maine is going to be any preschool that has over, I think it's in the Head Start programs, over 80% of the kids in the free lunch program, they get a bag of food to take home with them. And they're working on it being sustainable with grants. They're working with Good Shepherd Food Bank in terms of setting up sustainability. So that's only one of the things we've done with the Chef's Table program. So when we decided to ally ourselves with Hannaford to tell their story, we said, okay, we want to leverage this. Now, how far can we go with it? So this year, we'll be working with Sebago Brewery, and they're coming out with a Freshy Seshi, like an IPA session ale, and we're doing all this stuff, and we'll be supporting workforce development and childhood nutrition with that. So they approached us, and I said, hey, how about David Turin? Oh yeah, okay. And David got in because he's a great guy. Rick, who I didn't know, and Kathy, and Doreen Mills is the corporate chef at Hannaford, and she's awesome. When you see the stuff we came up with, and Matt, who's owns a couple places in Portsmouth, who is awesome too, and he's really good.
Yeah.
He's really good.
See, this is what I love about you. You always lift everybody up with you, and wow, look at that! Look at that donation, 10 grand.
Wait, that was only, yeah, that's only part. Who was this? Oh yeah, that was only part of it. That was the first one I think we did.
Wow.
Look at the flamingos on Miley. Oh my God, look at her.
Flamingo fever.
Yeah, that's the executive VP of marketing right there.
She's awesome.
And
yeah.
she's part of the flamingo. She did it. If anybody went to the toboggan races, you saw the fabulous Flamingo Flyers. That's the leader of the Flamingo Flyers. Here we are on 207. This is
Have you
an
guys
old one.
watched Kerry on 207? Yeah, you've done quite a few appearances.
Yeah, this is the one we did. Shiitakes hit the fan. That's
Yeah.
the fan.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, you think it's?
So how do you come up with this stuff? What are you drinking? What are you listening to? What mood are you in when you come
Teeny
up
band
with?
in my head. No, I don't know. I don't know what it is. I'm just very lucky to have a lot of influences, been around a lot of great people, had great mentors, and not being trapped by my own, the idea is keep pushing yourself, keep pushing yourself. The people you want to live with, you want to love, you want to be working with, they're the people that are reinventing themselves, not to change for the sake of change, but living with stuff and being present and being available. And that's the luckiest part of all this, is that I get to do this. This is crazy.
So they reissued your book this year.
Yes.
And you're excited to get it back out there again and go on tour?
It's one of the things are that the publisher said that every time they get their management meetings together, all they talk about is this book, and they said, let's reissue it. So we reissued it this year, and it'll be available for sale, and with autographs for a small fee. No, the autographs are free at the end of the game here.
That's awesome.
Fabulous.
It is the best comfort food on the planet. So,
All right,
there's
here we
a
go.
lamb wowie. Do you want to share our story about lamb wowie?
Sure.
That's
sure.
a beautiful
then we'll
dish.
Get on with. Then we should get on with some questions soon. you
Oh, I think we
yeah,
should do some
that. Let's go.
questions.
Let's
Yeah.
talk about this. So there
Let's
is
talk about a dish.
So here I am. Oh, there it is. Pan Indian whatever stand. So my God. With condiments.
So let me frame the story. So it was about 12 years ago. I just moved to Maine, and my husband and I had gone up to Rockland to go to Home Depot. We had a little 9-month-old with us, and we said, "Wow, let's stop at this place and let's eat." We walked in, and I think
I was cooking.
you were behind the line, but I didn't know who he was, and we were starving, and we opened up this menu, and I had like panic written all over my face because I looked at 150 items on this menu, and I was like, "Oh my God, I want everything. How am I gonna pick what I want?" And I saw the lamb wowie on there, and I have to tell you, I was in Maine thinking, I'm just not going to see any ethnic food up here in Maine. I'm it. I mean, if I want to eat it, I've got to make it. And when I saw that, and I was sitting there in that cozy, the fire was going, it just felt so good. I could smell the wood fire. I just had this moment from panic to like just this big hug. Like I finally belonged in Maine.
Yeah.
I knew I'd be okay. As long as I drove an hour,
Yep.
I'd be okay.
Yep.
And so the lamb wowie just spoke to me, and it's always been my favorite dish on your menu. So there's my story.
Well, okay, it's caused me immediate panic. And as I say in the thing here, so I see her come in, beautiful little baby, guy's there, and she orders this. I'm like, as I said here, it's like, good God, just order spaghetti meatballs. Don't order your grandmother's food here because I'm not going to measure up. It just is not going to happen. I say in here, like, the people that come in and order, the Korean people that come in and order kimchi, I'm like, no, get the spaghetti, God. And she did, and then she came up to the counter and said, how do you know how to do this? I'm like, oh, God.
No, actually, I said, who are you?
Who are you, or whatever.
Who are you, and how do you know how to do this? And there he was with this
Unencumbered.
ponytail, and he's like, I don't know. He's like, was it good? Was it good? I said, oh my God, I said, it was amazing. And he goes, it's got the secret spice in it. And I said, I know exactly what that secret spice is, and it's amazing, because it's wowie. It was the best.
Thank you.
So, yeah,
That is the
all of a sudden,
unlikeliness of this whole thing.
I open up the cookbook, and I see the story in the cookbook years later. So
Yeah, here we are.
we keep going around in circles.
Whatever stand, huh?
So how did the fabulous bowl of meat come around?
Ev and I were...
And then we're going to ask folks for their special
Okay.
dishes.
I obviously don't have a problem with giving out recipes or anything. Like, who cares? Because I'll think of something tomorrow. So this one, Evelyn and I were cooking, we were catering in Cape May, New Jersey in the basement. It's the middle of the night, and we had all these ingredients sitting around in various bowls. And we had a spiced pork. We were doing these phyllo wraps. I hate phyllo. I hope I never have to do that again. And probably next week I'll get a request for like 4,000 phyllo things just because the gods like to amuse themselves. And it was the middle of the night, and we had all the things, the cilantro, the lettuce, and we're like, oh my God, this is a fabulous bowl of meat, and it became this thing. And I tried serving this at the Eastwood Inn with the guy with the avocado. It did not go over well. But it's become a staple. So it's known as the F-bomb, which I didn't realize till Chris Darnell put it on the tub instead of, and I went, oh my God, F-bomb. I didn't even try for that one, and it happened. So yeah, that's a good one. And
I love how you just kind of wrap it up like it's a taco.
Yeah, it's
almost.
like a street Thai taco. And somebody told me and later we found out there's a thing called larb gai that's kind of close to it, but then again, unencumbered, as we had said before.
Love it.
New Evans.
New Evans. See, this is how I'm getting my kids to eat salad, is just throw the French fries in there, right?
So that it is. This salad was invented as a desperate attempt to get my then 12-year-old son to eat salad or anything other than bagels with cream cheese. So what happened was it was he and I think it was the single dad at this point, and we were saying, so we're having salad and French fries. He goes, you can skip the salad. I went, oh yeah? I threw the French fries right in the salad and tossed it. And then with the cheese and onions and everything else, and we both took a bite and went, oh my God, this is great. So it's a standard on the menu. He's 25, he's gonna be 26 next month.
Awesome.
So there it is, New Evans. Yep, okay.
Now this is why you're so cool, because of Aga Blaga.
Aga Blaga.
Aga Blaga.
Which was named because my son
Because Evan came up with
came up with a name. And Evelyn and I went to Primo one night and they did a dish like this. I went, oh, I'm doing that. So we couldn't call it Stolen from Primo. We couldn't. I see it's there. I couldn't call it Stolen from Primo. So I took the advice of my then toddler son and went with Aga Blaga. So there you go.
There you have it.
Jerry.
So tell us about Jerry. Who's Jerry? Because before we move on to questions, everyone's going to buy this book and then they go,
Chicken
why
Jerry.
did she ask him who was Jerry? Because there's like 5 Jerry recipes in this book. So who was Jerry? Tell us about Jerry.
Everybody thinks it's Jerry Garcia. It has nothing to do with Jerry Garcia. It's Jerry Brooks from Union, Maine, for Christ's sakes.
So tell us about him.
So Jerry would sit at the counter. He was one of our first waiters. And after a hard day of working on houses and everything, he would sit at the counter after he'd done his wait shift with a little stainless bowl with blue cheese and sriracha, the Thai chili sauce, and the bread with his brain on pause with this look. And just be shoveling this in. I'm like, Jerry, you got to eat actual food. He goes, I'm good, man. So then I started making him food with like this kind of flavor profile. So we did the blue cheese and hot stuff. So we have I Dreamt of Jerry, which is an actual I Dreamt of Jerry, and I made this dish the next day. And this one, so here we are with Chicken Jerry, and it's one of our iconic dishes. And I think it's becoming maybe the most iconic dish. Like
Why
I'm
do you
thinking,
say that?
people go, it's going to the circus. I mean, this breaks all the rules. It's Asian food with cheese in it, and blue cheese nonetheless. So it breaks all the rules. And I don't do what I call confusion food, except for the circus part. Like all the other stuff is like a grandmother or something in the background. This one is...
It's out there.
It's out there, and it's really iconic. And when I know that my son and his girlfriend come in, we go to Miranda, and we go, what do you have? And they go, oh, Chicken Jerry. They all have Chicken Jerry like right out of the box. And I get pictures of people eating it all over the world too.
That's awesome.
There it is. And you can buy this book right here tonight. How about it?
So we got to take some questions because you've got a big following out there all waiting to ask questions.
Oh, there you are. We turned the lights up. Hi. Where's Ev? Where are you? You out there? Yo, Evo.
Hi, Evelyn. You want to stand up and
Yeah,
take
let's
a
get a
bow?
round of applause for Evelyn there, because none of this would be
Co-founder Miranda,
happening. Now, my dad still says to this day, he goes, you know, Evelyn saved your life, and it's absolutely correct. When we met, I was pretty wild. We won't go into the day we met at the Bluegrass Festival, but that's a whole other story. But the solidness and the spirit of Miranda is truly a product of both of us. And it continues to this day, even though we're not there. Like, we're here. They're making the stuff there, right?
So who do you think is going to make your stuff down the road? I mean, what's coming up with the next generation of chefs? You know, are there enough of them coming
No.
around?
No, that's one of the
to your
things.
restaurant to learn how to cook and.
Boy.
I mean, what's the status?
I mean, any carpenters and plumbers out there, you having the same problem? Right, same bit, the trades, whatever. I think that there's, it's not a function of, we had the food channel dilettantes, we called them, you know, where everybody says, I want to get a tattoo and a knife and I want to be a chef. And then they realized, like, right, then there's like, you know, it's a 90-hour week in the summer and, you know, it's New Year's Eve, you work till 2 in the morning, you sleep a half an hour and you start getting ready for brunch on New Year's Day. That's the game. That is the game. That's why we can, or like, because we can, or no matter what, is what we do.
So what's your advice to somebody who wants to aspire to be a chef? I mean, should they be doing it or not?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, should they be working 90 hours a week, or should they try to get some balance in their lives? Or?
Well, that's changing. I think that the wage pressures and the demand pressures of people wanting a regular life is starting to affect our industry. I mean, the idea of the self-indulgent rage chef, which is never allowed at Miranda, and as soon as I did start doing that, I got my ass off the line because I started barking. I was like, what is that? Well, it's fear is what makes that go on, because you think you can't pull it off. If you could pull it off, you think they're sitting on the starting line in Indianapolis going like, oh boy, I'm really afraid here. No, they're going like, I'm here to win. And as soon as you don't have that mentality, you got to stop driving race cars and you got to get out of the kitchen. So my story. Did that answer whatever question you just asked me?
Sure.
All right, that happens a lot.
Yeah. Let's see what questions you guys have tonight. They've come a long way.
So what we're going to do is, you're going to say your question, Cherie's going to repeat it, or I'll repeat it, because we're filming this and all that stuff, and then we'll answer that question. And my favorite dish is, I'm not going to tell you, so skip it. Right.
What's your favorite dish in your book?
I'm not telling you.
All of them.
Enigmatic, you know. It's really like, again, if it tastes good, it is good. Like, who are you today? What do you want? Sometimes you need a burger. Okay, I need that. Sometimes I need intergalactic pork. Sometimes I just need a bowl of noodles with butter and salt, you know, and that's sometimes good enough.
Sometimes I just need a lamb wowie.
Yeah,
And
that's
I drive
true.
an hour.
And
You know,
people have come for those iconic dishes that they have memories. Like how we come up with the dishes, it's a memory, it's an ingredient, it's a technique, it's a piece of equipment. All those things feed into it. So we all come from our experiences. And that's what's great about seeing the picture of the old staff on here.
Yeah.
You know, because I want to say everybody that's ever worked at Miranda, the people that are working there now, the people who work there in the future, make it what it is. And that is the gift for everybody, because my job is to get everything out of everybody that works there, make them happy to give it, and send them home with more than a paycheck. To know they are one of the most rocking places like in the world, I would say. I don't think there's anything like it anywhere, from the minds of idiots. That's us.
All right, so let's find out.
Question,
What questions
okay.
do we have tonight?
What do you got? Anything out there? Come on, somebody raise their hand. Come on. Go ahead. Yonder.
I was in your restaurant 2 weeks ago,
I hope it went well.
eating LaValley. And I saw the cookbook, and I was really disturbed because I bought your cookbook
Yeah.
3 years ago, and I've recommended it to everybody I know. And this is different. It looks different.
What, this one on the picture?
Cookbook?
So what, the picture is different? Oh, the cookbook, yeah, it's a reissue, so they put a new cover on it. So don't go buy another one. Oh yes, go buy another one. Wait, yes, and
So
for
the
all your
question
friends
was-
too.
Yeah, the
Get
question was, is this book different from?
No, it's the
original
same.
book,
It's
the
the
same
same
book.
thing. So when they reissued it, they stuck a new cover on it, and there's conspicuously says nothing about Miranda the dog. Everybody notice that part? Nothing's in there. Yeah, okay.
That's good.
You're okay. It's okay. What else we got out here? Come on, somebody's got something. Oh, we are over there, yonder.
This may sound a little foolish, but I walked by the table with the books and just glanced. I had never heard of you, okay? But the book I saw had something to do with composting.
Could I see your comedic license, please? I don't see, it says comfort food, not compost. You know, people talk about us being artists, but all we do, it turns to poop the next day. So like, you know, compost, poop, whatever. We're not artists. You know, nobody's eating the Wyeth painting and shitting it out the next day, you know what I mean? I mean, we're not in that league. I hope that wasn't too much. Yeah, it was. Okay, by the reaction.
You have a question right there.
Where?
Hi.
Hey, yo.
Hi. I have a friend who has a restaurant, and she told me that the enemy in the restaurant business is waste. And I kind of think from your cooking that that isn't a problem for you. But I just thought it was kind of an interesting statement, since I don't know much about the profitability of the restaurant business. Is waste the enemy?
So
Let's ask the question,
the
yeah.
question is, how do we deal with waste with such an extensive menu and looking at what we're doing? So I don't know where you get that impression, because there are no leftovers, there are only ingredients. So when you use everything that you can, that curtails waste. Then it requires a very tight inventorying model, and you know how many things you got to put your hands on every day in that place? It is insane. I mean, down to like 3 different kinds of salt. three different kinds of salt. So yes, waste is certainly an issue. Food, you know, cost of goods and labor are the 2 things you have control over, because you know, the lights cost so much, insurance costs so much. Here's your variables, and keeping control of those is vastly important, and we do a very good job of it. Our cost of goods are well below the industry standards, because I don't see how anybody can make it on the industry standards, to tell you the truth.
And you're year-round.
And we're
you know,
year-round,
not even
too.
seasonal, and there are those who are seasonal that,
Yeah, and
It's
we're
even
maintaining
harder.
a year-round staff.
Right.
So it's not how much money you can make in the winter, it's how much you don't lose. I mean, anybody that's in a retail business in the Mid-Coast knows it, and it's never been any different, from fishermen to loggers to limers, you name it. It's always feast and famine here.
Good
Got
question.
another one out there?
Yes.
Right
Go
in front of
ahead.
us here?
Oh,
Yes.
okay.
I have a question. You have so many things on your menu, and it doesn't matter what we order when we go in there, you always have it. So where do you keep all this inventory?
Oh, we send out the Domino's, man. Yeah, they have this whole sandwich menu now in salads. Did you see it? It's awesome. They'll bring it to your house.
So the question was, where do you keep all this inventory
So
for
we have
150 items?
2 huge walk-ins, walk-in freezer for like the stuff that you can do that to, and when I first moved to Maine, I got a job at the inn. They had these huge refrigerators. I'm like, what's up with that? It's because you only get deliveries once a week. It was crazy, like twice a week for vegetables. Oh my God. So now we keep a rather large inventory because we might be serving, I think our biggest day this year, we served 220 dinners, 162 lunches, and then we served like 500 or 600 people off-site with the 2 ovens. And we're doing this at 1,200 square feet. Anybody that's a business person here looking at the potential revenues per square foot, we blow everything out of the water. So the crew is so efficient in their movements and what they're doing. The inventory has to be tight. We get deliveries almost every day because that's how you do it. So this insane idea actually works into a more classic model because that's how it used to be. You get the stuff, you cook it, you serve it, then get more stuff, cook it, serve it. It's not like I'm going to make enough stuff for 2 months and then freeze it all. It actually doesn't. You might as well just make it because there's economies of scale up to a certain point. Then you blow the economies of scale because you're paying for refrigeration and all this other crap. So yes, it's a very tight model.
But if you look at the menus carefully and you look at the cookbook and how you manage it, there's rice noodles in about 7 dishes. So
Right.
you got
But
the
you
rice
can't make
noodles
it
going.
apparent.
Right. But I saw that. So I do see how you're sort of.
We're busted.
But it's a great question. Where do you keep all the stuff? Because I come in there and I can barely
Yeah.
figure out how you get all that stuff in and out the door in the back and on our plates.
Well, there's the
So.
dishwashers are not just dishwashers. They have a huge function because they feed the line because you can't possibly store enough of the stuff. So say you get like 1 thing of chicken, you run out of the chicken. They have a whole gallery of the backups. They have all this stuff ready to go that they go run that, grab that tin, bring it onto the line. So everybody in Miranda, there's not a hierarchy of like, oh yeah, you're just a blank. On task, we are equals. If the poop hits the fan or the shiitakes, then you have to be a leader or a boss. But other than that, we're all on task and nobody gets left behind.
It's the culture there.
It's the culture
Yeah.
that Ev and I, when we did it, was not like, oh, they're the wait staff and they're stupid, but they make more money than anybody. Think about that. And I'm not begrudging that. What I'm saying is that there's not the animosity between the front and the back. So we're here for a purpose. The purpose is to make you happy when you come in and give you an experience because you're in my world for 2 hours. You're going to the movies. You're going to Miranda Land. Mm-hmm. And we're going to bring out the circus or the Italian comfort food and feed you and not fool you.
Nice.
Yeah, people complain about the portions, not because they're small. But they still complain. What?
It's too much food on my plate. Now what do I do? There's too
How
many
about free
items
beer?
on the
No,
menu.
stop. Whatever. Okay. What else you got? Anybody out there?
Question right there.
Kerry,
Oh.
I am always impressed.
Oh, you guys. Hi.
Jamie. I am always impressed how this huge menu, and all your chefs have it in their heads. You could teach them a special course and have to remember all this.
It was the lobotomy I spoke of earlier. That tends to work for everybody. No, it's really, it does take a certain type. Not everybody makes it. Miranda's a great place and a lot of great people have come in, but not every place, as in any relationship, not everything works. And it is terrifying for a couple of months for even the most skilled person just to get how it works, but once you get the rhythm of it, you do. And it can work, and it's worked for many people. It does take 2 months to train somebody. So in terms of like a seasonal business, if we did seasonal, by the time you got it, we would be closed.
Right.
Right. So to maintain that institutional knowledge, that institutional momentum is key to the way my business works. I heard Roger Penske, if anybody knows, he's owned race teams have won Indianapolis 18 times. And all those trucks you see running around with Penske leasing, yeah, he's got money and figured it out. But he said, invest in the human capital, make them feel like pay them for what you want them to do, and then expect them to do it and give them the tools to pull it off. And that's what we've done the whole time.
Awesome.
Does that answer the question?
Yeah.
Sort of? Okay. Anybody else out there?
There's a question, 2 questions, Jen.
Yeah. When we couldn't get to Café Miranda, I could get a fix by buying your homemade pasta
Oh,
and your hummus Cosa Italy
yeah.
with the cannoli and the cannoli beans and the.
Yep, and the artichokes.
Are you not doing that anymore?
No, we're
I
not.
used to be able to go to,
Yeah, Rising Tide, right up the street.
Yeah, Rising
You go to Rising Tide, go to Good Shepherd, go to Belfast. So what we discovered is that we're not a production food facility, which will come into your sauces and stuff later, because doing a grocery item is very difficult in terms of getting grocery space but we were very successful in getting the space. But we started becoming inefficient in the production because we need to ramp it up to a whole nother scale. And to do that required so much capital investment. And the question of whether we could get the ROI, the return on that, was the question. And we couldn't find anybody that could make our stuff the way we wanted it made. You'd have to start changing it up enough to put it in the packages where it would really alienate what it is. Then we worked out some other stuff with some food scientists, but really we didn't have the production facility to do it. And so in terms of revenues, we said, okay, well, we need to bring, the idea for that was if we can't fit everybody in for the same reason, we're going to make this food so you can get it where you're at. It was both a marketing opportunity and also an opportunity to give our customers things that we couldn't get to them. So now we do the catering for the very same reason. So that's where we took it. So in terms of looking at our abilities, so you look at like the challenge and you say, well, what do we have that can address that and what would that be? And everything. So we said, okay, people want Miranda food, they can't get it because we're full. Well, let's take it to them. We do a whole pickup catering menu where you can buy like a platter of the hummus with the bread and all the stuff. So we do that. We call it, I don't know what the heck we call it. It's on the website, pickup catering or next day or.
Well, you actually catered my daughter's wedding in 2012.
Oh, are you in my marketing department? Right. We do weddings, bar mitzvahs, bat mitzvahs, ceremonies, weddings.
Andrew was the chef who came.
Yep.
When you talked about it being like a family, every time we go to the restaurant, I look to see if Andrew
Yep.
is the chef that night. And go over to visit. It was real quick.
That's funny because when he first started and I got off the line, people were saying, where's Kerry? Now they're saying, where's Andrew? That's hilarious.
But that speaks to
Oh, yeah.
exactly why you're in this chair
Right.
tonight, right, folks? And we want to thank you so much for being here tonight and sharing all your, your genius, your hats, your vests, your jackets, your pink flamingos,
Oh, we should throw a few
and
more
all
out
of
there. What do
your
you think?
heart right here with us.
Well,
So
thank you, Cherie.
thank you so much for being here. You guys listen? Thank you. Wow, we keep this. All right, so we're going to do the book signing.
Yep, thanks to Andrew and the theater, Cherie.